Hello guys, how are you doing? I hope you are doing very well. Guys, today we're gonna talk about mass and weight. And many people confuse while in their using English every day, they use weight instead of mass. It means they are talking about mass, but they are using weight. They don't say the mass, they are saying the weight. So it means they have confused there. But because you're a student, and you have science, you are studying science, you have to know they are not the same, they are different. Okay, but you cannot say they are different, they are not the same, and you don't have any evidence, so you have to prove it. How do you know they are different? So let's see what are the differences between mass and weight. They have some differences, let's go for them. Okay, bismillah. Guys, what are the differences between mass and weight? Weight and mass are not the same. First of all, you have to know these things. Okay, this is the rule that you have to fix this in your mind. So, let's see the differences between mass and weight. These things are about mass, and these are about weight. It means until here I have written 5 differences between them. So, mass, it's the amount of matter in an object. It means we are for mass, the amount is important. The amount of the matter in an object is going to be the mass of the object. Okay, amount. But for weight, it's the force of attraction of an object. The force of attraction on an object, which is caused by gravity. This is the weight. It means for weight, you are focusing on the force of attraction, but for mass you are focusing on amount. The amount tell us the mass of the object, but the force of attraction will tell us the weight of the object. So until now these two are important. Amount means mass, force of attraction means weight. So it means, what do you mean by force of attraction? It means how force of attraction of the gravity effect on this, how much it affects on this is. So that's the when you explain this, it means the amount of force of attraction, how does it affect on this. This is going to tell us the weight. If it's affect more, it means the weight is more. If the force of attraction affect less, it means the weight is less. According to the effecting of the force of attraction, according to the attraction by earth, or by, we can say, by gravity, the weight will change. If attraction is less, the weight is less. Attraction is more, weight is more. So one more time, mass is the amount of matter in an object. Weight is the force of attraction on an object, which is caused by gravity. And mass, its measuring unit is kilogram, or we can say gram. Actually, scientifically and universal one is kilogram, but I have written gram too for the small things. But you have to know that the universal one is kilogram. The main thing for mass is kilogram. So you have to know the mass. The measuring unit for mass is kilogram, but the measuring unit for weight is Newton. We are not gonna go to a store, we say, can you give me 2 Newton of 2 Newton tomato? So you see 10 Newtons tomato. You don't say this, right? Why? Because you are not talking about the weight. You say give me 2 kilograms of tomato, 2 kilograms of potato. Why? Because you want the mass, you want amount of the tomato, the potato. Okay, you are talking about the amount. That's why you have to mention kilogram. Whenever you see kilogram, it means this sentence is about mass. If you see kilogram, you have to remember mass. If you see Newton, you have to remember the weight. So another one, these are 2. Let's go for the next one. The mass, it doesn't change with changing locations. Okay, it means if you change the location from one planet to another, from Earth to Moon to this, the space, to Jupiter, to any other planets, your mass will stay same. It means you are 50 kilograms, you will stay your 50 kilograms. Okay, your mass will not change by changing locations. Your mass will stay same. You are 70 kilograms, you will stay your 70 kilograms. Okay? But for weight, it changes with changing locations. It means if you will be on Earth, your weight is something. If you go to space, it's going to be something else. If we go to Jupiter, it will be something else. Why? Because you are changing your location. So you have to think about this. Okay, why? Why by changing location? What is going to change by changing location that make my, I mean, change my weight? If you know the definition, we said force of attraction, which caused by gravity, decide about our weight. It means gravity is going to decide about our weight. It means by changing location, gravity will change. That's why by changing location, weight will change, because gravity will change. Gravity of Earth is something, on in space in something else. In space is something else. On Jupiter is something else. So it means by changing location, by changing the planets, if you go to another place, your weight will change. Why? Because the gravity will change. That's a good question. Why if you change if you go to the moon on moon, or we can say on Jupiter, your weight will change? That's a good question. Why? You have to know. You have to say that because the gravity will change, and weight depends on gravity. Weight is all about force of attraction. Force of attraction will change, my weight will change. So let's go for the fourth one. Until now, three. Mass, it's amount of the matter in an object. Weight, it's the force of attraction on an object, which is caused by the gravity. This is important. Weight and gravity. Whenever you hear weight, you have to remember gravity and Newton, because Newton is the measuring and it depends on gravity. So these two are important for weight. Newton, which is the measuring unit, and gravity, which is change everything about weight, I mean. So another one, its measuring unit is kilogram for mass, but for Newton, the measuring unit is weight. For the mass is not gonna change by changing locations. If you go to another planet, still you have your own mass. But for weight, it changed by changing location. Of course, if you go to another planet, your weight will change because the gravity will change. Let's go for the number 4. Mass, so it doesn't depend on the force of gravity. It means force of gravity is not gonna decide about our mass. Force of gravity will be 0, will be 1, will be 2, will be 100. Your mass is same. I said you are 80 kilograms, you will stay your 80 kilograms. You are 10 kilograms, you will stay in your 10 kilograms. Your mass will not change by changing gravity. It doesn't depend on the force of gravity. Okay? But for weight, it depends on the force of gravity. So be careful. Weight depends on the force of gravity. It means by changing force of gravity, your weight will change. But by changing of the force of gravity, your mass will not change. Okay? That's why we said by changing location, your mass will not change, because changing location, gravity will change, but still your mass is same. Your mass still is same. So, but by changing location, gravity will change, and weight depends on gravity. That's why your weight will change. So these are number 4. So first, mass, it's the amount of matter in an object. Weight is the force of attraction on an object, which is caused by gravity. Mass is the measuring unit. Its measuring unit is kilogram, or we said that sometimes you use gram, but universal one is kilogram. Be careful. But the measuring unit of weight is Newton. And mass, for mass, it doesn't change with changing locations. For weight, it changes with changing location. And for mass, it doesn't depends on the force of gravity. For weight, it depends on the force of gravity. And the last one, mass, it measures with measuring scale. With a measuring scale, it means if you want to measure the mass, you want to know how many kilograms is that, you have to use measuring scale. It's an instrument, we can say. For example, for um, temperature, we have thermometer, right? We are using thermometer. So but for mass, we are using measuring scale. It means the instrument that we use for measuring the name of the instrument is measuring scale for mass, but for weight we are using force meter. Okay, it's measured with a force meter. It means mass measured by measuring scale, but weight will be measured by force meter. Their name of the instruments are different for measuring them. So these are the five differences between mass and weight. You have to know them. If someone tell you the mass and weight are the same, if you say no, they are not the same, you have to tell them these differences. Otherwise, he's not gonna believe you. You say he said, okay, you are a student, but you are saying randomly. If you would just prove it, if you know it. So right now you have to prove them. Mass is the amount of matter in an object, but the weight is of the force of attraction of an object, which is caused by gravity. It means force of gravity, how much force effect on this. And mass, its measuring unit is kilogram for mass, but the measuring unit for weight is Newton. Their measuring unit are different. And the mass doesn't change by changing location, but weight will change by changing location, of course. Weight changed by, with changing locations. And mass doesn't depend, on the force of gravity. It's not related with the force of gravity. Gravity is how much your mass is, stay same. It's constant. It's not gonna change by changing the force of gravity. But weight depends on the force of gravity. Whenever the force of gravity change, your weight will change. If force of gravity will be more, your weight will be more. If the force of gravity will be less, your weight will be less. So the mass, the last one, and the measuring, it measures with, the instrument for measuring mass is measuring scale, and for measuring weight we are using force meter. So these are difference. So if you come here, guys, there are something that we have to know. Your weight will be lower when the gravity will be smaller. We said that weight depends on the gravity. When the gravity will be smaller, your weight will be lower. And opposite is correct. When the gravity will be bigger, your weight will be higher. So, and these are something else you have to know. The force of gravity depends on the mass of the object. It means the force of the gravity depends on the mass of the object. It means gravity of the Earth is different from the gravity of Moon, different from the gravity of Jupiter. Why? Because the size of Jupiter is different from the size of Moon, on the size of Earth. Their sizes are different. That's why their gravity also different. But how? Look here, there are some examples here. The moon's gravitational force is less than the Earth's gravitational force. Why? Because the moon is smaller. That's why the force is less. You see? Moon's gravitational force is less. Why? Because moon is smaller. But the Earth's gravitational force is less than Jupiter's gravitational force. Why? Because Earth is smaller. It means Earth is more than Moon but less than Jupiter. Why? Because it's bigger than Moon but smaller than Jupiter. Which one is bigger has a better gravitational force. More gravitational force. Whenever the size, the mass and the size, we can say the mass, we can say this one is better. The mass of the object will be bigger, the gravitational force will be bigger. The mass of the object will be smaller, the gravitational force will be smaller. And guys, that's how you find weight. How can we find weight? For example, you say, okay, how can I know if the mass is constant? We can just measure it and we can know it. But how can I know the weight of something? So guys, if you just have the mass of the object, you can find the weight easily. Because guys, we have G, which is gravity of Earth. It's 9.81, but we just make it close. It's 10. It's universal. I didn't do it. So it's like that. We are using 10. The gravity is 10 always. On Earth, gravity is 10. It's not gonna change. For example, I will give you an example. Let's say the mass of an object is 7 kilograms, okay? And the gravity is 10 kilograms. I'm sorry, the gravity is 10, okay? So we have these two, gravity and mass. The gravity, we always have the gravity. It doesn't need to give to you. Nobody need to give you. You have to know it. Gravity is 10 on Earth, always. But the mass is important that someone will tell you. What is the mass of the object? 7. Okay. The mass is 7 and I know the gravity is 10, so I can find it easily. So what is the weight? We have to find the weight. Weight is, you have to find the weight like this. G times M. M is mass, G is gravity. It means G is gravity, which is 10. We said that, right? And also mass was 7 kilograms, right? So 7 times 10, 70. But 70 what? Newton. We said this, the measuring unit for weight is Newton. It means that's how we find weight. Only someone will tell you the mass, you have to time it to the 10 because 10 is the gravity. If you time 10 to the mass directly, you will find the weight. So now weight is 70 Newton. So every time you have to know that it's always gravity is 10. It's constant. It will not change. On the earth, gravity is 10. But the mass will be different from something to another one, right? Like, for example, if you want to know the mass of 10 kilograms of tomato and mass of 5 kilograms of tomato. Okay, we have these two mass, okay? 10 kilograms and 5 kilograms. You want to know the weight of them. So directly you will bring them the mass time to the gravity. Gravity is always 10. Mass is how much? One of them is 5. 5 times 10, 50. It means the 5 kilogram of tomato has 50 Newton of weight. And what about the 10 kilograms of tomato? You have to 10 times to 10, I mean 10 of the tomato to 10 of the gravity. 10 times 10, 100. It means the weight will be 100. 100 what? Newton. Guys, you have to be careful for the measuring units. I will tell you the last thing about them. The last thing. This mass must be kilogram always. The rule is not accepting gram. It must be kilogram, then it can work. It's actually, this is kind of detail for you. I'm not gonna give it to you. If it's gram, you have to change the gram to kilogram. It has a rule for changing, of course. You have to change the gram to kilogram. For example, 80 grams will be how many kilograms? So you have, by a rule, you will change it. It's going to be 0 point something. So leave them. I'm not gonna tell you this part. So, but it must be kilogram. Then you can use it here. It means weight is gravity times mass. But the mass must be kilogram. The weight, the gravity is always 10, but the mass must be kilogram. Directly, you will multiply them, the mass times the gravity, you will get the weight. By this way, if you use your mind, directly think about this for a second. You see, gravity is 10. So if you have 1 kilogram, it means 10 times 1. It means weight will be 10, right? 1 times 10 is 10. It means we understand that 1 kilogram of mass is going to be 10 newtons. 1 kilogram equal to 10 newtons. So that's all about the difference between mass and weight. I hope you understand everything. If you have any questions, you can just write in the comment. And if you have any extra information, or if you have any things you know, you can just write in the comment too. We are appreciating. Thank you so much. Best wish.